admitting people. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for being with us once again in Career Conversation. Today, we are going to talk about transitioning to employment, career development tools that we need to use. For the purposes of this conversation, I'll start by introducing myself again. Of course, I can see quite a number of people have been here, but for those ones who've never been here, my name is Margaret Waidaka. I'm a career development practitioner working in this area for over 10 years. I've been a national panel member for KICD when championing career development as part of PCI in CBC. I'm also the board chair of CDAC, which is the professional body for career guidance and development practitioners. I'm the president of VACDA. This is a new outfit, East African Career Development Association, when you're having conversations about career development in Africa so that we can start our own path. I've also co-authored Discover Your Career, approved workbook that is approved in secondary schools. For those ones in school, maybe you have seen this book. Thank you very much for being with us. We've had quite a journey. We've had different conversations. We had conversations on assumptions that we have on career development. We've talked about whether it is theory or practice. We've talked about elements of quality career development services. So we've talked quite a number of issues, and we thank you because you could have been in another place, but because it is the start of a long holiday, but you preferred to be here. I want to salute those of us from different countries who joined us. I can see Olatawale from Nigeria. I can see some of my friends from Rwanda. I can also see from Uganda, and I want to thank you and salute you. Thank you so much for joining us. A little bit about College of Career Guidance and Development. We are an online institution. We are registered by the government of Kenya. Our work is to impart career development, guidance and development skills and competencies to young people and all the people who offer career development services in diverse populations, meaning that it is whether it's in schools, communities, out of school, and even in places of work in diverse communities. We have the competencies to offer that. Of course, and we are career development content developers. The last ones that we did career guidance framework for TVET and CPD for industrial attachment for their 2 countries in the country. For those people who would be interested in some of these documents, you can find them in the UNESCO. These are the links, and you can find them in the UNESCO site. I will also post the same to the chat so that if you are interested, and especially I've seen some persons from the TVET sector, the Regional Career Guidance and Counseling Policy Framework for TVET, it is key for you. And then so the report for role of continuous professional development is also very key for those in the TVET sector and also those in tertiary level. We continue with career conversations where we talk about different issues on careers. What is it that we need to know? And that is why the journey has been going, and we've been meeting every week so that we can look at the different aspects on this sector. Today, we want to talk about transitioning into employment. Of course, we know some of the challenges that we have, what students have, what the challenges that workers have, and that is what we'll be talking about today. And Pauline Wang'ombe, our HR and careers expert, she's going to take us through the exploration on tools that you can use that can be useful during this time for our students and also for ourselves. We are going to be here for 1 hour and 45 minutes maximum. After this, Pauline will take us through, she is our guest speaker today. She's also our teacher. We'll go through Q&A, and then Dr. Mercy will talk to us about being a professional CDP. and then we'll have some discussions on the floor, and you are invited to ask us any questions on the chat, any observation, anything that you like to talk about. The chat is open for all of us, so kindly use the chat as much as possible. I would like to introduce to you our speaker today. Our guest speaker is Pauline Wang'ombe. She's a HR expert, being trained from Kingston University from the UK. She has over 20 years experience in human HR and management, including both operations and consulting. She's worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers in Nigeria, in Tanzania, in Kenya, and she has come a long way working with organizations in public and private sector and all that. Pauline, we invite you. Thank you for coming. Pauline is also one of our resource persons and tutor in CCGD, where she works. She talks to students, or she teaches students on this sector about career development in workspaces. I'm going to stop sharing, and I will invite Pauline Wang'ombe so that she can tell us what she has for us today. Karibu sana, Pauline.
Thank you very much, Margaret, for that wonderful presentation and introduction. I'm going to share my slides now. All right. So welcome everybody to this evening's conversation. Like you heard, my name is Pauline Wang'ombe, and my area of expertise is human resource management, operations, and consulting. And this evening, I'm going to just, I guess, lay the platform for our conversation on transiting from education to employment, the tools and strategies that are available for the transitioning persons, which is the students, as well as to those who are supporting them. We'll also look a little bit into what the tertiary institutions and employers can do to support students to make successful transition into employment. So the objectives for this conversation and for my presentation are those four. First, to provide awareness of the barriers faced by youth in their transition from tertiary education to employment. The reason being that this will give us the context in which we are trying to provide the help that we want to provide. We will also look at gaining insights into the transition process. How does the transition process look like, and what kind of support do the transitioning students require at different stages in that process? The other thing that we'll look at is highlighting some tools that are necessary for a successful transition. What do these students need to know? What strategies do they need? What tools can they apply to be able to have a successful transition? I will also highlight, like I said, some actions that tertiary institutions and employers can do separately and or corporately to make that transition successful for those who we want to support. My screen is frozen, bear with me. It's not going down. All right, the context. What are the barriers that are there for those who are trying to transition from tertiary education to employment? And first, we ask ourselves the question, what does a successful transition mean? And what would define a successful transition for us, I believe, is the time taken to make that transition. From the time that I leave the institution of education that I'm in to the time I enter into employment, whether that be self-employment or employment by an institution, how long does it take me? And we want to say that the shorter that time is, the more successful we should consider ourselves to be, or that individual should consider themselves to be in making the transition. So that's one success criteria for transitioning. The other one is achieving a measure of stability and reasonable satisfaction with the work that one is doing. And I say a measure of stability because we know that in the world of work today, there are no guarantees, but we want to help that person, or we want our charges to be able to have some level of stability, not here today, gone tomorrow, but some level of stability, and to enjoy what they do, because one, they are getting what they expect out of it, and two, because they are enjoying what they are doing to the level that they would like. So that is what a successful transition would be measured by. So what are those barriers that exist to our students transitioning successfully into employment? And employers are always talking about the lack of particular market valued skills. There may be specific skills in terms of the particular area of practice or profession or vocation that one is getting into, or there may be the hard skills or the soft skills that are required to thrive within the employment context. So the other barrier to successful transition is lack of fluency in the language of business. And it's interesting because I read, for example, print media, be it online or hard, and I kind of like get irritated by the language that is used there, the spelling mistakes, the misuse of words, the lack of fluency in the language. But here we don't want to constrain ourselves to the language of business being, let's say, English as the official language, but the language of business within the context that the person is going to operate. For example, if I am going to be an agripreneur, there's the language that goes with that particular area of business or employment. If I'm going into construction, it has its own language. So there's the language of business within the particular area of employment, but there's also the language of business as English per se being the language in which we transact business. And with, for example, our experience with Sheng and my experience as a HR recruiter, it is surprising just how much work there is to be done in cultivating that. Then the other challenge is the significant costs associated with job search. We are talking about being able to access the internet, for example, to find the information about what opportunities exist. We are talking about writing letters, posting them, attending interviews, and the costs that go with that. We are talking about people who are coming from studying. They don't have the material resources, and particularly if they come from a socioeconomic context that is not so favorable. So that can be a huge challenge. And then there's the challenge of accessing finance for those who wish to go into self-employment. You are just a student coming, just been given the power to read, as we are told. But what do you have to back you up in terms of being bankable to the organization? So the banks won't help you, and the micro finance institutions may be limited in terms of how far they can reach. We are also talking about barriers to do with transitioning for some being accompanied by other significant life changes, such as starting a family or caregiving. Somebody has become a mother, even a wife, and a father, and those are also placing demands on them. And we are also talking about challenges of learning how to navigate an environment that has behaviors that are that become self-limiting in terms of transitioning, and that is a real problem. We know, for example, in our country and in certain areas of the country, behaviors that are self-limiting in terms of transitioning. We're talking about things like drinks and drugs. We are talking about also barriers to do with the lack of trust between employers and employees. Sometimes, and I don't know how real this is, but it has come out of research, and a lot of this information I'm sharing is from research done by the MasterCard Foundation. And that lack of trust is people, like people thinking, oh, the ground is not level. There's corruption. You have to pay your way to get employment. There are issues of governance and that arise, and that becomes a barrier. I also would like to say, in my experience, it can also become an excuse for the people who are supposed to be transitioning, doing what it takes to make a successful transition. There are also barriers of lack of information and knowledge at various points of the transition process. For example, having weak personal and professional networks which compromise this. Now, I'm not saying that the strategies and the tools we are going to discuss today address all of these things, but it is important to appreciate the full context in which the people that we want to support and help are operating in, so that sometimes you have to go beyond just helping somebody do a CV and actually become a mentor and something of a counselor to this individual when you appreciate the full context in which they are operating. So, understanding the transition process. I like to think of this process like a journey. Somebody is leaving one point and they're undertaking a journey to go somewhere else. And that journey requires somebody, any journey really requires somebody to make some preparation and to decide what to take, what not to take, admitting somebody. So the first thing that one has to do now that they are leaving the institution of education is preparation. And truth be told, this preparation of going into the world of work ought to have started way before when they get their degree or their diploma, because that is what is going to give them added advantage. They will be prepared for the world of work if they start early. So the earlier they start, the better. So what does this preparation look like? My skin is freezing. My screen is freezing.
Put the cursor on the screen. Put the cursor on the screen, click on the screen, and then it goes.
Yeah. Yes. No, you've gone back.
Yeah, we are there. Oh, it's going every which way.
Okay.
Bear with me.
Yeah, there you go.
Even the best preparations can come unhinged. So understanding the transition process and the preparation. I've talked about the journey and said that we can't presume to undertake a journey without making any preparation, because then the extent to which we will enjoy the journey experience and how smooth the journey will be becomes compromised. And likewise, the journey to transitioning into employment becomes compromised if the necessary preparation is not done. And that journey starts with self-knowledge and self-awareness of the person who is undertaking the journey. They must be able to answer questions such as, who am I? What do I want? What do I like? What do I enjoy? What don't I like? What skills do I have? What am I good at? They must be able to ask themselves and answer, what is my motivation for getting a job? Do I just want a job that you put bread and butter on the table, unga and sukuma on the table? Or do I want a job that will help me also to support my parents, educate my siblings? Do I want a job that is going to stretch me, or do I want to stay within a certain comfort zone? They must be able to ask themselves what they want out of the job that they are looking for. That is part of the preparation. They must be able to answer the question, who do I want to become? Where am I journeying to? They must also be able to answer, how will I get there? And these are the things that we are supporting them in doing. And what will it take? What resources will I need? And you can go on and on. Where will those resources come from? And it is out of this self-awareness, self-knowledge, that they will be able to create a career plan. This is where I am, and this is where I want to be, who I want to become, the job that I want to have, and what I want to get out of it. They draw a picture of that, and it becomes their career plan. So they need to have a career plan, and not just something that is, they need to put it down. You know, when you have a vision, you put it down, the vision of themselves and their careers. They need to document that and put it down as their career plan. If that happens when they are still in the education institution, that would be so much the better. So how can we help them, and how can we even ourselves achieve this self-awareness that we are talking about? And we are blessed in it's both a blessing, I guess, and a curse, depending on how one takes it. But we live in the information age, and information is at the click of a button. Still taking cognizance of the fact that we said some people are limited in their ability to access that click. But there's a lot of information out there available to us, even us who support those who are transitioning. They can use questionnaires, they can undergo values assessment, interest assessment tests, personality and skills assessments. Those are things that are there. And some of these are actually, there are some which are free. When you talk about financial limitations, there are some which are free, and one can undertake to begin to build a sense of understanding of who they are, what makes them tick, what makes them talk, what motivates them. They can be able to complete such assessments, sometimes free online. It would also be a good thing if we can train them and have them adopt a habit of self-reflection. And this is not just for them, and it's not only for this time of one's career, in terms of why did I do what I did? Why did I fail to succeed here? Not just going through motions, but this is, I guess it's where you get the iterative learning out of the experiences that we have gone through, a habit of reflection. What went wrong? What did I do? What well? What did I not do so well? How can I improve on where I did not do so well? That is something that they need to develop the capacity to do, and that we all need really, in terms of our personal and life development. And it's this process of self-reflection and growth does not only mean taking on things that are supportive of our vision of who we want to become. it is also a process of dropping things, like those things that have been dropped there, of everything, things that are not. Please mute yourself. It is also a process of not just letting go of those things that are not supportive of the vision of who I want to become. It is also a process of taking on. You let go and you take on those things which are supportive. These are the things that our people need, our students need to appreciate, that what is supporting me and what is counterproductive, and be able to let go. And sometimes they need support to do that. Okay, some of the things, my screen, goodness. Okay, some of the things that they need to take on, we are assuming here that they've already gone through tertiary institutions, they've gotten their vocational skills, whether it is their government trade tests, whether, you know, the technical skills to become engineers, to become elders, to become construction people in the various areas of construction, to become chefs. This is not focusing on that, because that is peculiar to each individual in terms of what competencies they have developed in terms of their training through the education that they have undertaken. But it has been found across the board that there are certain so-called soft skills that are necessary tools needed by everyone when they are going into the job market, if they are going to be able to make a successful transition and be able to thrive in their area of work. And these are what some of what employers indicate as necessary for people to thrive in that world of work. So we're talking about self-confidence, motivation. Somebody doesn't have to, they can self-motivate as it were. They have the drive, self-driven. They have aspirations. They have a vision of where they are going. They have communication abilities. We talked about the language of business, and they are able to take responsibility, because in truth, even as career guidance persons, with the best skills and abilities, if the person I'm purporting to support does not take responsibility for their growth, for their movement, for their transition, it becomes very difficult to be able to help them. So they must take personal responsibility. They must be ready, able, and willing to be able to for the support that they're getting, to be able to be productive. They need presentation skills, talked business language, networking skills. We talked about poor networks being a limiting factor. How do they develop networking skills? And they also need to be able to have carry out research and seek out information that is going to support their transition, where to look, where to go, and what they need. They must be able to do that. So they have made the necessary preparations. That's a starting point. I am self-aware. I have a plan for entry into the job market, and now I must start the job search. It's the next thing that they need to do. And there are tools, again, and strategies that go with that. They need to learn how to write their CVs, cover letters, how to prepare for interviews, etc., etc. That is the start of the actual job search. And then the actual, they must acquire education on the opportunities which are available in the market. And we talked about research skills. They must be able to seek out this information, know where to look, what job sites to go to, which social networks they can link up, they can link into, look into the print media, know how to penetrate what is called the hidden market. We must empower them with the ability to do this. So, and this is what, just a brief overview of what it entails in terms of those particular tools that they need, and what strategies that they can use to be able to make the transition. And I've put there a picture of a construction, because for me, in terms of, we talked about a journey, now this is another image of constructing. I am constructing a CV, I am constructing an image of myself. If you think construction, especially in our Kenyan context, we know what happens when people carry out constructions of buildings and don't have the right materials, and use those materials the right way to be able to cause that building to stand. And that, for me, represents what constructing a CV means. You must be able to construct a CV that will stand up to scrutiny when you send it out into the market. And that means you regard the CV as a marketing tool that you use to sell yourself. One of the things mistakes that people do is just having one CV that was constructed in 5 years ago and sending out that CV to every place that they are trying to find a job in. That is wrong, because every CV should be for a particular opportunity, and they need to learn that. The CV must speak to the details of the advertised position. So you cannot use yesterday's CV for yesterday's job application in today's job application. It must be tailored to the particular job that they want to look for, or they want to respond to the particular opportunity they want to respond to. It must be clearly headed. So yesterday's CV was for the position of a chef. Today's CV is for a position of a coffee taster or a mixture of wines and beverages. So it has to be tailored to the particular job that one is looking to enter to. So you have chef for yesterday. What do you call the person that tastes wines for today's position, as the case may be. It used to be that the longer you wrote your CV, the more we thought we looked like we have achieved a lot. But the truth of the matter is that the longer your CV, the more unlikely it is to be read, because the recruiters simply don't have the time, and they need to appreciate this. In any case, when you're leaving education, tertiary education, just by virtue of the amount of experience you have accumulated, that CV cannot be that long, and ideally should not be more than a page. We talked about language. And yes, where we can get away with sharing in some places, depending on the career plan that one has developed, they must actually ensure that they are positioning themselves for the area that they want to go. So you cannot send a CV with wrong spellings and typos. That is not. It's just going to be thrown into the trash. It must be well formatted if things need to be aligned. And there are so many, we live in the information age, I said, there are so many examples online for that one can follow to model their CV along and capture what they need to capture. So in terms of constructing the CV, there's the form and there's the content. I've talked about the form, and one can get examples online. They can use the self-awareness information. Who am I? What do I want? Where do I want to go? What am I good at? That is the information that will become the content for developing one's profile and CV, plus the experiences that one has gone through. And those experiences, of course, you select the ones that are relevant to the particular position that one is responding to. So you don't, because I have done 50 things, I'm not going to put 50 things on my CV. If only 20 things are relevant for the particular position that I'm looking to apply to, the 20 things are the ones that are going to find their way there. And even that in order of their importance and responsiveness to the particular advertisement or position that I am pursuing. The other tool that they will need is a cover letter. And my experience has been that you get a very laid back attitude about these things. They are real problems. You get somebody just writing a cover letter in, just as an email. And the people that I've interacted with, many prefer that you would actually write a cover letter and attach it to the email, not just an email. There may be situations if you're just prospecting where an email may do, but if one is writing a cover letter, then they should do a particular position advertised, then they need to actually go through that, write a cover letter and attach and go through what we were taught about letter writing, formal letter writing. The cover letter is not a replica of the CV. It has to enhance the CV by giving more information because it is a further marketing opportunity. This is where you show that you know this organization, this company, and how your interests and those of the potential employer converge in a way that is beneficial to both sides. Therefore, the cover letter should, therefore the cover letter should contain information from what you've researched about the company. And then the person needs to study the advertisement and study it. And it means to study. It's not to have a cursory look at and run through of that advertisement, studying it the way they studied in school and noted the key information. They need to understand that they have to study the advertisement of that particular position. Then they need to learn how to use the material that they have prepared in terms of their self-awareness and what they have done, what they enjoy, what they have achieved in their lives, to be able to prepare a case for themselves as the best person suited for that position. And it is unlikely that the first copy will be it. So they need to write and rewrite and write, and if possible, have somebody review it for them, somebody such as ourselves as professionals review it for them. Then they need to end the CV with requesting a meeting for a discussion, and they must sign off the CV appropriately. It sounds like it's far-fetched, but you get people signing off very informally. They need to learn formal letter writing and sign off. Yours sincerely, depending on whether they know the name, or yours, yours sincerely as appropriate. Yours faithfully if they don't know the name of the person, as the case may be. So summing up is to say that understanding the process of transition is understanding that you are creating a person the person that you want to become and the person that you want to sell to the world out there, the world of work. So when you look in the mirror, when you look on the CV, does it reflect that person? And it is a true reflection. We cannot have people say that they are capable or able to do things that they are not, or that they have competencies that they do not have. I usually tell people that if you find that you need to embellish your CV to look into a certain kind of person, then that indicates that there are certain areas of yourself that you need to work on to become that person that you want to take to the market. So when they look in the mirror of their CV, what are they seeing? And are they satisfied to send that, believing that it gives them the best chance of entering into the interview room? So they have entered into the interview room because they have taken the trouble to construct that person, that image, a true representation of themselves, their capabilities, and their interests. We need then to prepare them in terms of how to conduct themselves inside the interview room. And they need the knowledge that it may be one interview or it can be a series of interviews with different people or combinations of different people. And it is an opportunity to exchange points of view and ensure that the best match is achieved. It is in the interest of the organization as well as in the interest of the job seeker that this match is good. That is where the satisfaction for the job seeker comes from, being matched to the right organization and the right job. This level of assessment may also include personality tests. It may include simulations. It may include case studies. I have been involved in very, very many graduate recruitment programs, and it's really a battery of tests, presentation skills, being given a case and getting into a meeting to discuss that as a group, and they need to be aware of this, and they need to be aware of what is being looked for in that particular activity. For example, if it's a group activity, it's probably wanting to look at how you can take leadership, or does the group sit there mute and nobody is assuming leadership. Of course, the person who gets the group started is potentially demonstrating leadership skills. So they need to be aware of what is being looked for if I'm given a presentation, if it's a case study, if I'm thrown into a group activity, what is it that they want to see out of that activity from me? And prepare for all these things, any eventuality. You prepare for one interview, you have to be aware of this and prepare accordingly. And be aware that it can be physical or it can be virtual, and there can be problems with a virtual interview if you don't have prepare the setting where you're going to do it. You don't want interruptions, you don't want noise to become a barrier to your communication with the parties on the other end. So how do they prepare before they show up into the interview room? They need to review the job descriptions. It's one of their tools of transition. What is the job description that the job that they want, they are putting themselves forward for, and they need to look at their application again. You can't go to into an interview and you ask a question about your application and information included there, and it looks like it is foreign to you. They need to review the company and their knowledge of the company. They need to prepare their argument using who they are and how that self-awareness and self-knowledge and their skills, using that to prepare their arguments about why they are going to be the best person for that job. They need to do research, and familiarize themselves with what are the typical questions that can be asked in an interview and prepare their responses accordingly, truthfully, based on themselves. They can have a practice session with a friend, with a professional if they are able to, and get feedback on how to polish up for the interview. They must be able to have to be aware of where the interview is if it's going to be physical. They cannot show up an hour later and say they did not quite know where the address was. I remember there was one time I attended an interview and I went 2 days before, actually took right 2 days before to go to that place so that I could know how long does it take to get there and where is this place. And keep time. We need to teach them how to present themselves, and different jobs and different environments may require one to present themselves differently. So they need to do research about that and know how this particular environment would require them to present themselves. The other tool is references and recommendations. They might need this. They should include them in the application only if that is required and asked for. Otherwise, they should just know these are my reference people. If should I be asked to provide references, then they have ready references to provide. And it's of course courteous to let the references know that one is putting forward their names as a referee. There's nothing as bad as someone being called and being asked to give a reference and they are not aware that they first of all, they'll be caught flat-footed, and it is just not courteous, and they need to understand this. Some of the fields of work may require portfolios, and they need to learn how to put together a portfolio. And this portfolio can be digital. It can be a hard copy folder where they put the samples of their work. For example, if they are photographers, if they are graphic designers, architects. If I'm asked, there was one place I know I was asked to provide samples of reports that I have produced. So these are things that that they need to know and they need to have ready, even if it's things that are relevant that they did in the course of their studies, that they can provide as evidence of their abilities and skills. They need to have that ready. So saying there that the contents of the portfolio should be a demonstration of specific skills that are required for the job, not throw in everything that I've ever done, but choose that which best represents skills that are required for the job that I am chasing. They must be familiar with the contents of their portfolio, each portfolio that they prepare and be ready to present it and talk about it to the interviewers. Excuse me, it's running. We talked about portfolios. We are talking about here about the content, or rather the concept of the hidden job market, and they need to know this, that according to the ILO, only ILO information collected by the ILO is that only 30% of vacancies are put out into the open, whether it is on advertised online or in the print media. Only 30% of jobs make it there. And conversely, 80% of job seekers are competing for these 30% of the jobs. What about the 70% of the jobs? Where are they? They are what is called the hidden market, the ones that are not advertised because people already have a database of that they go to and look at, you know, those ones we used to send and they would say, we don't have a suitable position at the moment, but we have kept your CV. Sometimes it's actually real, and they go back and they look into the database and they fill the position. It can be that the people who are there within the organization recommend somebody, the networks, you know, share the information, and it never makes its way into the public advertisements. That is 70% of missed opportunities for those who do not know how to work with this. So it is not in vain, in a sense. It cannot be the only way, but it is not in vain to actually send one's profile, call it speculation for employment, prospecting for employment, to the kind of organizations that one might want to work with for the kind of work that they might want to do. We call it with some of my colleagues, it's a spray and pray. But spray and pray with wisdom. Don't send to every organization in the world. Send the kind of organizations that you want to work with and for the kind of jobs that you're interested with. So spraying means that it's not just one pray. You just keep spraying until one finds a job. Their full-time work is to look for work, to keep spraying and sending those applications. Social and professional networks, they need to learn which ones can they leverage in their search, and keep themselves informed on trends and activities in the labor market and in the specific industry that they want to, if it's in the hotel industry, if it is in the construction industry, if it's the entertainment industry, they need to be abreast of what the trends are and the activities happening there. They need to protect their e-reputation, the digital footprint that they leave on the internet. It can come back to haunt them. That's one. You know, writing, you know, if and some employers will do this. They will check and find what kind of person you are. If you're the one who bullies people online and rude and that sort of thing, an offensive person, that can compromise. Of course, also the protecting their e-reputation is just making sure that their information is safe online. And then they need to keep track of their job search activities. It can't be that where did I last apply? They should be or who did I last speak to? They need to log their activities. It can just be a book where they write. If they don't have access to the internet, it can be on their, or some, you know, a note thing on their phone if they have a smartphone, or it can be an Excel sheet. But they must, I applied here for this position on this date. That is important to keep track of. When a job offer is made, they need to find out about the company's practices, the compensation, as well as the market information. Have in mind what kind of salary they want and how low they're willing to go. This calls for research. If you have contacts inside the organization, other people in similar positions like the one you're pursuing, it can be online. There are sites that actually provide that, like I think is it called Glassdoor? Provide information on employment and the job market and how different jobs pay. And then they need to prepare their arguments on why they should be paid that amount of money, anticipate what objections there that might arise, and how they are going to respond. They have been offered the job. They have packaged themselves so well, constructed their tools so well, presented themselves so well. They have a job. How do they conduct themselves when they get into the employment, into their job environment? They must be attentive. It's now another time to start learning, and they must be attentive. They must observe. They must listen, watch what's going on, take notes, maintain a positive attitude, learn. How people relate, not just the skill, the specifics of their job, how the interactions, the culture of the organization. They must observe and listen and watch. And they must learn to ask questions whenever they need to, because either because they are stuck somewhere or they didn't understand instructions. They must learn to use this as a skill. Learn who is who in the organization. You do not want, if you didn't meet the CEO in the interviews, you don't want to meet him and greet him in a manner like you do not recognize who that person is. And then they need to reach out to people and not just wait for people to reach out to them. Whether it's during coffee breaks, walking up to people, talking to them, they must plug in into the way that life is lived in that organization, even as they learn how to do their work. Some organizations have well-structured induction, settling in programs, others do not. They must, whatever the case, wherever one finds themselves, they must learn and prepare for integrating into the organization that they have gone into. There are organizations that provide buddy systems. The person, your go-to person, I have worked for one such organization, the go-to person that you approach with your questions. Where do people go for lunch around here? All those things. Someone to hold your hand and walk with you. Coming towards the end in terms of some of the ways tertiary institutions can support students' transition. This sounds like a tired statement, a jaded statement that knowledge is power. And a lot of students are actually groping in the dark. Tertiary institutions can create opportunities for students to acquire workplace preparedness before they exit into the labor market. I said the earlier it starts, the better. So tertiary institutions could do this by building collaborative relationships with organizations to facilitate internships and work experience. They can also avail career information through career service programs to provide knowledge on workplace preparedness, as well as labor market information on occupations, career pathways, what learning opportunities are there for the direction that one wants to take. They can provide that as a service before the students actually leave and go into the job market. They can support students in identifying their focus areas. Where do I want, having understood myself, where should I focus myself so that I develop skills for the market? If there is a link between the market and the tertiary institutions, then the tertiary institutions know what skills that employers are looking for. So then they can be able to guide the students accordingly to opportunities that are suited for their motivations and their aspirations. They can provide skills development opportunities alongside the regular study. I don't know whether things have changed, but when I was a student, except in my postgraduate studies, we never had any opportunities, for example, to make presentations. I only got that now when I went to the postgraduate studies, where you can prepare a paper in your subject and present to the other students and to your professor. These are important skills. Building confidence, which we saw is one of the skills that is required to be able to thrive. So how can this be integrated into everyday learning, even for people who are not doing, subjects that are require presentation. Maybe journalists talk to people all the time, but how can everyone have opportunities to learn the market skills alongside their regular study? Another thing is that they can invite professionals, and I think this happens, to talk to students about various careers so that they get industry knowledge. Provide career counseling for self-awareness in terms of identifying goals, their identity, their values, their motivations. They can provide career counseling services. They can also refer students to vacancies and opportunities, and this can actually be achieved through even the collaboration between the market and the tertiary institutions. I don't know that. Foster lifelong and independent learning and commitment to one's career. Like I said, if you're working with somebody who is not willing to work, you can't literally take them, carry them. They must be committed, they must be motivated. So foster those lifelong and independent learning and commitment to one's career. Also provide information on the available employment services that students can use in the institution as well as in the labor market. Where can I go for this? Where can I go for that? Where can I go for the other? These are things that tertiary institutions can support. How about employers? Employers working alongside schools can make school visits and give career talks to enable students to make informed career choices and decisions and learn what pathways may best be suited for them. They can provide model relationships for students that they can aspire to. Different employers, leading persons, or just somebody who enjoys their job and is thriving in it can speak to the students and be a model that they can aspire to. They can provide work experience through internships and holiday work so that students see the relevance of what they are learning in these institutions and build confidence. Also provide mentoring sessions for students and have mentorship programs in their organizations to support progress and decision making, to support the progress of the new employee and the decisions that they make about their careers going forward. Moving on. They can educate new employees on opportunities and pathways available to them for informed choices, and they can showcase their industries and organizations, like in career fairs, to support build students' knowledge. I think it's a good idea that most organizations have an onboarding program as well as feedback programs to help the new employees become comfortable and enable them to map their progress within the organization. In conclusion, what are we saying about successful transitioning into employment after tertiary education? We are saying that it requires taking preparatory steps while still in school and hopefully with the support from the institution. But I'm also saying that we need to teach them to take responsibility for their own career planning and career development, to look for those opportunities, not to sit back and wait. It's also, we're saying that a lot of knowledge and information on the job market is required and on what it takes to achieve a successful transition, including all that information we have shared and possibly much more, and developing and using appropriate tools to achieve the transition. We're saying that developing self-awareness and the right knowledge and the right attitudes to foster success is something that we need to help them to do. And we are saying that it requires the concerted effort of both the education institutions and the employers in supporting students to achieve all of the above. And finally, It is one's job, it is one's career to be the driver, to learn to be in the driver's seat, to learn to step out and ask for that help, and to be committed to making a successful transition. I'm not sure how I've done with my time, but that brings us to the end of our presentation.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Pauline. You have actually done double your time.
I give too much.
I think you are very, very, very generous
was very
with your
generous.
slides. And I can see a lot of people are very happy about that. You've given us a lot of stuff, a lot of reflections to think about, and especially most of us who work with young people who are transitioning to the world of work. I'm sure they're very happy. I can see a lot of claps. Others are saying very good stuff. Thank you very much. Asante sana. Please, you can write that. Everybody's very happy by what you've done, Pauline. So you can stop sharing. Thank you very much. Very insightful. Those are great tools. Pauline is one of our lecturers in the diploma, which I would like Mercy to take us through briefly. She teaches career guidance in work settings and beyond. And you can see the kind of stuff that she gives to the students. So thank you very much. That was great. Maybe just a reaction to the queries here and elsewhere for more understanding. So now I want, maybe we can have Mercy. No, okay, let me just check. There are some queries that Pauline, somebody is asking that if you could clarify between a resume in short and a CV. What's the difference between a resume, a cover letter, and motivational letter? I think I remember her talk about it. I can't remember the motivational letter. So what she said was the difference between a resume, a cover letter, and a motivational letter. Briefly, Pauline.
Thank you, Margaret. I do not believe that there's any difference between a resume and a cover letter. And one of the best practices, not cover letter, CV. One of the best practices about a CV is actually we no longer say curriculum vitae at the top. The latest best practice is to actually put the title of every job. Like if you're going to say if you're looking for a job for a pastry chef, you don't have the heading curriculum vitae, you have pastry chef, and then you present the picture, your image as a pastry chef in the body of your curriculum vitae. The motivation letter, the cover letter is your motivation. Why do you apply for this job? Why do you think you're the best suited person for this job? I think it's a matter of semantics. Unless somebody else knows differently, I am willing to that we share.
Okay, you can also put it in the chat in the interest of time, Pauline. You can also look at the chat and then you can start answering.
I can respond there.
As I invite Dr. Mercy so that she can go take us through maybe some 7 minutes about what Pauline has given you is actually part of the qualifications that we offer. And Dr. Mercy is going to take us through that. So Dr. Mercy, the floor is yours. And you are on mute.
Yes, and thank you. I'll be quick and brief, and I will. Okay, this is part of the how do you get qualified in this area so that you can be able to support the students, the people in the TVET institutions or tertiary education, and how can you support your students in this area? There's one way in terms of getting qualified, and because we are also in an era that we do not have monopoly of knowledge, and so we need to be continuous learning. And so the issue of reskilling, upskilling and skilling is necessary. And we need to reflect in terms of how do we then support our students, the students at transition, not just those ones in TVET, but you also have others at different levels. So these images represent some of the frustrations, some of the limitations that our brothers and sisters, our children go through. And so we know that if we have the right skills, we'll be able to preempt some of these issues that are presented in this. Statistics, again, also show a lot of gaps in terms of how people transition from basic education into tertiary education. About only 30% access, or transit into tertiary education. So where does the 70% go, and how can they be supported? And why don't they go? And based into, considering that the government also has invested heavily on TVET education and also university, and then we have reforms that are already ongoing, yet the transition into tertiary education is still very low, both university placement and also TVET placement. This is some of the statistics from economic survey. And even if we do 2021-22, the statistics will still be around the same. Reports from employers, only about 12% of the respondents showed that they were very prepared for the job market, and then 66% were not prepared. So another gap from transition, and I think this is what Pauline was sharing with us on how we can help our students in terms of transition into the world of work. Alignment within the world of work, 66 people in the wrong careers, only 7%, others are clueless. So they go through the work every day, and so doing their work, and no wonder then the services we receive when we go to, whenever we need services from people, then this might be the reflection of this, and how can this be preempted? Happy employees globally, a study that was done by UNICEF in 2018, covering about 40 countries. 63% dislike their work, 24% hate their work, so showing the emotions are very heavy, and then only that percent love their job. So this is the reflection and why we need to have the qualification. I wonder if we did that in our country, the happy employees survey, what did it reveal? So to be able to preempt some of this, we have a diploma in career guidance and development, equipped by National Qualification Framework, level 6, and it has 4 semesters. So the content is cognitive competencies that has theory and practice, the functional competencies of advising, coaching, information, and then personal competencies, the facilitation, collaborations, and partnerships, and then ethical practices. Any practice must be governed with ethical principles. So even career guidance development also has ethical competences that a practitioner needs to have. Standards and compliance. So the qualification is recognized and equated by KNQF. The assessment, we are trainers, but the assessment and the awarding and the certification is done by ABMA, Education UK. This is a recognized institution for examinations worldwide, and it is also registered. ABMA is also registered by TVETA, and so it is recognized even in the Kenyan market. So as CCGD, as a center, we are registered by ABMA as an examination center and also a training center by TVETA. Our staff are licensed. We have some of the staff licensed by TVETA, and also their qualifications from global universities. You'll be able to see the staff. How is the course delivered? Through scheduled guided virtual classes, Zoom or Teams. And then we have a learning management system. And from the classroom, the virtual classes, then we have extra materials and resources shared on the learning management system. Again, the assignments are also done online through the learning management system. We also recognize in terms of the payment, in terms of economic situation of our country. So we're also flexible in terms of any person interested in the training. We also provide flexible payment plans. So what are if you have this qualification, how can you apply the skills and what are the opportunities? So in terms of skills development, the new skills, it could either be in curriculum and course or workshop planning, designing, developing, evaluating, and revising career education programs, integrating career management competencies in school curriculums across all the learning institutions, developing and reviewing career information products. Career guidance cannot work without information. And so if the information is presented, we have the capacity to be able to review it or even come up with new products that can be able to support the students. We have the junior secondary school that also has anchored, career guidance is already going to be anchored in the school curriculum and in the timetable and in the classroom. So we need people who are going to be ready to provide extra information for the students to be able to access. And this is an opportunity for anyone trained in this area. And then again, Pauline talked about career portfolios. This again is an area that we'll be able to use to help individuals in developing career portfolios. So opportunities, one, again, in the learning institution, to offer the services in learning institutions, either to the students, to parents, unpacking CBC, career service department in tertiary institution, both universities and also in the universities and TVET institutions. And then now see in the junior secondary, it's already a career department is going to be established, and it's through the guidelines that were launched in January. Then career departments and a committee is going to be one of the areas that is going to be to champion career guidance in junior secondary. And so experts or people who trained in this will have an opportunity to be able to serve and provide services in that area. We have a group of people, the 70%, we said we don't know where they go from tertiary, from basic education. So these services could either be the youth, not in education and training, so that we can be able to address their career needs or problems professionally. And then also the services to career changers, the people who are in transitions, not just transition from education to world of work. We also have within people changing within jobs from one organization to another, others occasioned by job losses, occasioned by redundancies or early retirement. So we are already in the government, there are those the information that is, although unpublished reports are saying that there's a likelihood of early retirement of people. So how are they if retired at 50 years? How can I transition? What can I do? So the services of career coaches, career guidance practitioners will be needed at that particular time. There's also an opportunity for anyone in another area that can expand their scope to the full range of career services as a consultant in all areas of either career awareness, exploration, preparation, and transitions. And then a service to impact people's careers over a lifetime, to offer preventive services such as coaches, advisors, and information specialists, so that we prevent the crisis, so that people don't just come to us because they're in a crisis, but how can we preempt some of the services before? Just as what Pauline was saying, we need to prepare the students transitioning from tertiary education into the world of work way before the 4th year. So from the time they enter the institution, there should be programs that are preparing them for the world of work. So these are some of the things that we need to preempt. In terms of the new curriculum, in terms of the junior secondary school, this is what the government is going to do. And it's already, the guidelines are already out. There will be an opportunity to offer. So the department needs to offer needs based on career guidance to all learners at every level. The schools will be required to establish career guidance committees to be able to implement and coordinate career guidance programs, and then include it in the school timetable. The department and whatever roles that people are going to be in that area will be required to sensitize all learners on career choices based on the CBC pathways into the senior school, and then collaborate with parents and guardians and other stakeholders. Utilize the services. The department are also encouraged that if they have no capacity, then it means they can utilize the services of experts on career choice and modeling and then these people are supposed to be approved by Ministry of Education. So it means there's an opportunity for anyone who has an interest in this area. Once they are able to train, then they can present their credentials to the Ministry of Education so that they can be approved as one of the people who can offer their services to support the junior secondary schools and also the senior school. And then one of the roles of the department is to expose learners to job shadowing and other experiences to nurture them into their future career opportunities. We cannot be able to do this if we are not trained in career guidance and development services. And I'm sure some of the students who have done this, they can attest to it, that the course be able to cover a unit on career guidance for learning institutions. So all the way from kindergarten, all the way to the highest level of education. And so this is part of, if you have these competencies in that area, then it becomes easier. In the tertiary education, again, the TVET sector, again, Margaret talked about there is a regional framework for career guidance and counseling for TVET systems, covering 5 countries. Out of this, the regional framework, TVET, the body that regulates the industry, has developed draft standards that are supposed to be validated. And you're invited, Margaret, you can put the link for them to be able to apply. To sign in so that they can participate in the validation of, there's a trainers qualification framework. They have 3 standards that need to be validated. There's a recognition of prior learning, the requirements and the guidelines, and then the career development services in TVET. So, and the requirements and the guidelines. So there's, in terms of running career services within the TVET institutions, there are guidelines and standards. And one of the standards is that the people running or heading this department needs to be trained. Participate in this. Margaret share on that. It will be virtually on 26th between 9:30 to 11 a.m. And it is through Teams. And so this is an opportunity, again, that is showing the industry that is growing, and there's a need for us to be prepared so that we can take up these opportunities. So the way forward, who do you think can benefit from among us, the 37 people who are on this call? Who do you think can benefit from this training? Is it you? Is it unemployed graduates? Is it a neighbor? Our children? It is open to all. And so we have 2 course intakes in May and September, and our May intake is ongoing. So if you are interested in doing this, we'll share the form, a Google form for you for registration, and then you'll be able to take up, we'll be able to have a conversation and how to get started in this area. So our faculty members for this, the head of this, I teach information, the history of career guidance and also assessments, and as for career guidance for socially disadvantaged members of the community. Pauline, who was a speaker, teaches on career guidance for work setting. Dr. Fidel Baraza, who teaches career guidance for special needs population. Nikki from University of Derby teaches 2 units on career education programs, and also theory and practice of career guidance. Amy Woolley is good career guidance, advising, career mentoring. And then we have Polly, Career Information and Career Guidance Practice, Dr. Nina from South Africa, Career Guidance and Academic Research. And then we have the support by Edward Aligula, who is also a PhD candidate, pursuing PhD in education, curriculum and instruction, and assessment. So that is the team. And we know that in terms of the scope of career guidance and where it can be applied, we have very few people doing this. And so I leave you with this reflection that even as Jesus knew that there are many people, the souls are lost, and there are very few people who can, I mean, the laborers are few, but the harvest is plentiful. It's the same that applies to this field. And we call you and invite you so that we can train to be as many, so that we can be able to meet the demand. I'm sure in the next 5 years, we can reflect, we can look back and see what we have done and how the training that we underwent will have borne fruits. And so we invite you to be part of us so that we can train and be able to make a contribution and an impact in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mercy. Yes, as she says that we are few and we need to be many and more, and it's has to come from you. Can stop sharing. Thank you for that. Yes, I've already put in that standard. The link that you're going to have, but what Dr. Max is trying to say is that, yes, let us get trained so that even when you're doing our recommendations, we know that we have more people who are coming. We've really used up a lot of time. Of course, as we say that Pauline was very generous, and thank you very much, Pauline. I can see some people even texting me and telling me how happy they were. Thank you. We want you to continue staying tuned in Career Conversations. We continue bringing you top of the news on different areas and different sectors of career information. Even as you learn and you want to get trained, I would like to introduce you Tristram Huli. Tristram will be with us next week. No, is it next week? It is the other week, that is on the May 5th. Tristram has written thousands, just like Professor Sultana, he has also written thousands of information on career guidance. He actually talks about career guidance and development as an adventure to him. So he's going to be with us and he's going to talk about career development for all. I think Dr. Mercy alluded to that it should be for all, from early years all through to the communities, and we'll be talking about how to build more inclusive and resilient societies. Would ask you to come as well. Always join us so that we can continue with these career conversations. Do you want to receive alert on our upcoming webinars? If you have not registered, please text "I want to be a member of Career Conversation" to 07438 22925, and you shall be added. And any time that we are having webinars, you shall be let to know. You shall actually get an alert about the upcoming webinars. If there is a particular area that you'd like us to talk about, you can always write to us as well. So thank you very much, Dr. Mercy. For those who will be interested in getting more information about this diploma or this training, or if you'd like to register for the May intake, Dr. Mercy, you can put in the Google form and then you can register. For now,
I've already posted it. I've posted it and also have sent the number if they want to become members of the conversation.
Okay. So, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you, our guest speaker, Pauline. Thank you, Dr. Mercy. I can see Dr. Chelotti saying a frequently asked question is how a job applicant can quote. How a job applicant can quote. Can quote a salary. What should he base on the rate, or can it be of a disadvantage, over quoting or under quoting? Would we want this? Would we want to invite Pauline again, and then she can expound on some few issues on that? Or can Pauline answer in 1 minute?
She can, 1 minute.
I think I alluded to it when I talked about the negotiation process and the need to do one's homework to know if you can get access to somebody within the organization, or at the very least, similar jobs in similar organizations for people like yourself at your level, the level of the job that you have applied for. What are they getting? It's good to have an idea, but it's always also good to be led by wisdom, to perhaps ask them, you know, what is the structure, and let us see whether I can fit within the structure that you have. So it's good to have the information ready so that you don't undersell or oversell, but you can push back in terms of letting them be the first to make the offer.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will take this opportunity to thank you, Pauline, to thank Dr. Mercy, and most of all to thank you, participants, because without you, would not be having these conversations. So thank you so much. God bless you all until we see you again on the 5th. We thank you. And if you have anything, let us know. Always feel free to talk to us and ask us any questions. So God bless you, and may you have a blessed weekend. Thank you. A lot of people are asking that we share the slides. We will share the recording.
Stop recording.